Hi, this video is intended to help you with some of the research struggles that I know you're all facing. So what I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about how one comes up with a research question, then sort of how do you put that question together so it is a question that you can actually research and find the answers to, and then how do we find the information that we're looking for. I'll take you through a couple things, and then how it is we might write up a reference for that. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of the internet, so bear with me here. We're going to start out by looking at the popular press for a topic that we might be interested in. So I called up trusty Google here, and this morning when I was out for a run, I was listening to a podcast, Marketplace, that I like to listen to. And they were talking a little bit about Apple and Apple's tax issues that they faced. So I thought, oh, well, maybe that'd be something, I could use as an example. So my popular press is not necessarily an article. Actually, it's a Marketplace podcast, and so when I go to make my references or my sites, I'm going to need to use this podcast as my source. But now I want to see if I can find a popular press article on this current situation of Apple and taxes. So I go into the Google search bar and I type in Apple So I type in Apple's tax, and when I get the word tax done, this word avoidance comes up. So, okay, that sounds great. So I click on it. Now, when I click on that, I get a couple of different things. I get the scholarly articles about Apple's tax avoidance, but I also get something in the news, and that's a little bit more what I'm looking for here initially. So I click on this, and I get this article about Apple and the tax bill and, some of the stuff. Nice photograph there of the CEO. And then I go ahead and I read through this. Now here is where it comes time to just do a little thinking. So this perks my curiosity about corporations and the taxes that they pay. You hear so often, as I did in this Marketplace thing, about how they're supposed to pay 35% of their net income. Well, I'm just curious about that. So is it true? Do corporations pay 35% of their total revenue? No, it's not total revenue, it's net income. Okay, so do they pay 35% of their net income? So that's kind of my starting point. So you see, what I did was I found something that perked my interest, which was Apple's tax avoidance. And then I sort of thought about how I could turn that into a research question. I can't write a paper on Apple's tax paying policies. In this class, it's necessary, really, really necessary, that you come up with some type of data that is cross-sectional. You probably can't find longitudinal unless you started on this project a long time ago. So you need cross-sectional data of a whole bunch of entities over time. So for this, I am interested in taxes. So maybe I could look at Fortune 500 companies and the taxes that they pay over time. So this would give me a nice big data set, Fortune 500, that's going to give me like 480 companies, which is going to be a lot. If I did it over 10 years, I've got quite a bit of data. In order to make statistics work, we have to have a large data set. It simply will not work to have 10 data points. So when you're thinking about the research question, you have to take something that is of interest to you, and you have to extrapolate it out to a bigger piece of the pie. So I'm interested in Apple. I like Apple products, but I can't write a paper on Apple. This is not a class where we write a just a simple paper on, not a simple, but a paper on a particular company. No, we need to get data from across the market. So now when I go to look for my research articles, I need research articles that have done something similar. They've looked at the taxes that corporations pay. So notice just now I've come up with my popular press article. I have a choice of two here. I could use my marketplace example, and I could also use that article that had the picture of Tim Cook on the front. Okay, so now I've got my popular press down. Now I'm going to go search for some scholarly articles about my topic. So I'm going to go back to Google, but this time I'm going to log on to the library, because I know that I can do this Google search at the library, and someone asked me about this, so it's probably just as good a time to do this. I'm going to go to the Fogel Library. I'm going to go to the Databases tab, and I'm going to click on G here. And I'm going to go down to Google Scholar and click on that. Now, I am logged in because I'm standing at my office computer. If you were doing this from home, which many of you will be, or from another workplace, you're going to have to log on with your University of Maine credentials. If you are from UMA or some of those other places, you're going to have to log on with your University of Maine credentials. Otherwise, you won't have the same access that I have here. And I'm going to type in here corporate tax So I got corporate tax down, and I was trying to think, so I paused the video, and I think I'm going to go with avoidance again, because using avoidance, that's the same word I had used before with Apple. So I'm going to hit return, and it's going to bring up some articles. So we've got long-term corporate tax avoidance. We've got the effects of executives on corporate tax avoidance. And we've got corporate tax avoidance and high-powered incentives, corporate tax avoidance and firm value. So you see that we've got a variety of good Google Scholar articles. Now, what's nice about this, using this site, is right here. This means I can easily download these articles. Now, here's where some difficulty comes in. This is not quite as easy as you just download them and boom, they're perfect. Sometimes you download them and that's not at all what you wanted. Sometimes you download them and it leads you then to something else. So I'm going to click on this first one here because this happens to be one that I am quite familiar with. So I'm going to go to this PDF JSTOR. And then I'm going to click on download PDF. It should give me the PDF. Now, one of the things that I really like about this article, now mind you, I had seen this article before on another paper I had written. This article tells me how to get data on how much taxes corporations actually pay. So something like this, you wouldn't necessarily know initially. You have to do a lot of digging. Turns out, like I said, I happened to stumble on this, and I've actually used this paper quite a bit, so it's funny that it came up as the first hit when I typed that in. But in this paper, these guys actually tell us how we can gather data on this. So this paper is really critical. If I was actually going to write a paper on this for this class, this paper would be critical. And the reason this paper is critical is because it tells me where to get my data from. And if you can find a paper that tells you where to get your data from, well, you know, you are definitely going down the right path. So let me just show you in here where it tells us that. So right here, they talk a little bit about measuring the long-run cash effective tax rate. And these guys were actually one of the first people to come up with this notion of capturing how much taxes a corporation actually pays in any one year. And here they say use this term cash ETR, which is they're using Compustat. I'll show you how to use that. But it turns out that actually you can't use that. Instead, you have to use something called TXPD. It's like taxes paid. They've actually changed the terms. I contacted the author because I couldn't find it. But this is a really important article to back up this notion of corporate tax avoidance. So, as you can see, I would want to download this article, and then I'm going to want to cite it. So to cite my article, what I want to do is go back to the first page of the article, and you get something like this. So you can also go to, whoops, sorry about that. You can also go back to here, and then if you know how to write the cite, you can get it from here as well. But if you go here, and then you just copy this. So what I did was I just copied this whole thing. So I copied the whole thing and I pasted it into this PowerPoint, because this way you can see it, it's nice and big. Of course, you're not going to put it in a PowerPoint. Now, by copying this, I get basically what I want, but it's a little bit out of order and it has a little more information than I actually need. So I want the title to be in there, but I need to start with the authors because I'm putting this into APA format. So I'm going to grab the authors here and I'm going to cut them out and put them here. And it needs to start with the last name of the author, not the first name. And we just need the first initial. So we'll do his last name, then we'll do Hanlon, comma, M, period, and may do, comma, I don't remember what his first name was. Oh, it was Edward, so we'll put may do, comma, E, period. Then we're going to put the year in parentheses, then the title, long run corporate tax avoidance. Okay, so that's perfect. We're going to put a period at the end of that, and we're going to get rid of this. The Accounting Review, that's the name of the journal, volume 83, number 1, and we don't need this January 2008 because we already have that above. And the fact that it's number 1, and we know that. Here's the pages, and we put a period there, and then we don't need published by, we get rid of this, and American Accounting Association, and period. Sometimes we indent the second line, sometimes we face it off, depends on the type of paper we're doing. So that would be our reference for this article that we just found. So now we also need 3 sentences to summarize this article that kind of do a nice job of telling us a little bit about this. So this is, your assignment that you've got. And so now is, you have to go back and read through the article and decide, kind of what's the purpose of this article, what sort of data do they have, and what did they conclude. So we go back to the article and we take a look and we see if we can figure that out. So as you can see right here, I did a little quick purpose, type of study, and findings. It takes some time to do this. So this is where, some of the difficulty comes in. Yeah, the homework is easy for this part of the course, but this stuff is a little bit more challenging. So first I need to figure out the purpose of the article. Well, so basically they wanted to create a new method to determine how people or how corporations paid their taxes, and so that they could get at this long-term tax avoidance or not. And then you want to know what kind of study it is, because it's very important if it's an empirical study, they use data, or it's a more theoretical study. And so in this case, they gathered 10 years of data on large firms, and they also provided a clear method to gather the tax data. So this is really important for me because this will help me moving forward in how to gather data. And then the findings, well, there was some evidence of corporate tax avoidance. Most firms do pay a little bit less taxes than we thought. So this shows you what I'm looking for this week, right? So I want you to find 3 references, 3 like this, that are scholarly articles. I want you to read them, and then I want you to summarize them and cite them. So the reading is twofold. 1, for you to learn about the topic that you're interested in, but 2, I want you to see the way a research article is written, because, well, you're not going to write a complete research article. You're going to write some pieces of it. So you need to kind of understand the language, you need to understand the way the sites work, to understand how it is set up, the sections, and that sort of thing. So by reading these articles, this gives you a way to go. So let's just assume for a moment that you have come up with your 3 articles, and now you want to, you've done your assignment. Now you have a week from tonight to get your assignment turned in. It looks like a quiz on Blackboard. It isn't really, but you're going to have to cut and paste, your references and all of that stuff into this assignment. It's called a quiz. But then for the following week, you're going to need to find data. So it's really important that you kind of get your topic down, what it is you're trying to look into. Now, I did have a student come by and say, we locked into this forever. No, you're not locked into it forever. You can always switch, but if you switch, you have to kind of redo what you've already done. So it's kind of nice to stick with the same topic. So let's then take a quick look at some ways to find data. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to first decide on your topic. You can't let the data drive the topic. So you really, really, really want to find the topic first. So once you're pretty settled on a topic, now you can go and begin by looking at some basic things. So I'll show you the statistical abstract, and I also have another video on that, but I'll throw some other stuff into this. But for me, if I'm going to stick with my Apple project and my corporations and the taxes that they pay, I'm not going to be able to get the data I need from the statistical abstract, or so I don't really think. I could possibly look at the statistical abstract to see how much money corporations pay in taxes, and maybe if that's changed over time. But remember, I don't really have my research question down yet. I'm still just sort of looking into this notion of corporate taxes. So what I'm going to do is take you to the statistical abstract, do a couple of things, and this also answers a question that Amanda had, and that is, it seemed a little clunky and cumbersome. Is there an easier way? So I'll show you what I know about the statistical abstract. I also am going to require you to go to the library and actually look at the statistical abstracts, because there's a lot of great information in there that you can't see it by Googling. You just can't. You can't flip through the pages and see how much stuff is there. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the statistical abstract. So I'm going to go back to the Fogel Library, and I'm going to go to P because I'm interested in ProQuest statistical abstract right there. So here we are with the statistical abstract, and I'm going to type in here corporate taxes paid. Here we go. Summary of corporate income taxes paid by industry from 2007 to 2011. Here we have another summary table. So let's go ahead and click on one of these. So I clicked on it, but I want to download it because I think sometimes you get better data when you download it. So I'm going to hit the Excel button and let it download. Okay, so we can see here, this is the taxes that were paid by all industries in 2007, 8, 9, 10, and 11. If we wanted to look here and find the industry that Apple is in, we could, that might shed some light on what we're interested in. So that'd be here, computer, communications, machinery, and equipment. So it looks like, they're paying more taxes each year, so that's kind of what we would expect. But this at least gives us, sort of a large picture. It is interesting, I'm just noting this, that the amount of taxes, the petroleum and coal products and manufacturing seems to be going down, but interesting. But anyhow, So this gives us at least something, right? To, okay, well, so globally, it appears that taxes are going up each year, or the amount. Now the question I might ask is, the number of industries, or the number of companies this incorporates, right? If the number of companies is increasing, or the revenue is increasing, well then this might take on a different look. So what I want to do is I want to save this. I already saved the file, but I'm going to label this corporate taxes paid 2007 to 2011, and then I might go back to the statistical abstract and see what else I can find. So I'm going to search for corporate pre-tax profits, and maybe by industry also. So here we've got statistics of income. This is corporational tax returns, and then we've got pre-tax profits 2007 and 2008. But I guess I'll just take a look at this one. This one seems like it might work, so I'll download this with an Excel, stick it in my other spreadsheet, and then just take a look at it. So here we go. I've cut and pasted it into here, and we can see we've got the various industries, and then here we have the pre-tax profits and the percent change in there. So that's of course important when we're talking about taxes. So my point on all of this is that there's sort of a fishing game. You've got to go, you have to find the data, that sort of thing. Now another place that we can also look at pre-tax, or we can also look at corporate taxes paid, is through CompuStat. So I'm going to make a separate video on how to get data out of CompuStat. It's very useful to get any sort of banking or accounting type data, anything like taxes paid, pre-tax income, all entries on the balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, all of those are in CompuStat. The difference with CompuStat is it's for generally by company, so you have to have a list of companies that you might be interested in. So I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you understand how to retrieve some information from Google and Google Scholar and whatever else on a topic you might be interested in, and then maybe how to get some data. Please see my videos that I have made on retrieving data from Fred, retrieving data from Yahoo Finance, if you've got questions about that. And then you can look for one on how to retrieve data from the WORDS database. So, hope this is helpful.